Welcome back. Saudi Arabia launching airstrikes on Yemen in coordination with a coalition of 10 countries. The U.S. not one of them. I want to bring in retired Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann. Colonel, good to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Maria. Thanks for having me.
Iran is denigrating the Saudis for launching this airstrike attack on Yemen. What are your thoughts on this airstrike attack?
Well, I think the Saudis are responding in a way that really is not surprising, considering the threat to their country that's emanating out of Yemen, and it also doesn't surprise me that Iran is pushing back on that. I think what I'm concerned about is just the perceived relationship that we're developing with Iran in general. I don't think that's a good idea, and their forays into Yemen is just another example of that. Yemen backsliding into this chaos is really bad, not just for the region but for the whole world. It really poses some problems.
Yeah, I think this is incredibly interesting given the fact that these talks with Iran are ongoing about its nuclear ambitions. What do you think is the end result here? And what does this tell us that the Saudis have actually taken this step?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things at play here, Maria, that I think, all the viewers ought to be considering. I mean, first of all, the fact that we are working with Iran to the degree that we are, I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't see any utility in that. And I think probably a lot of viewers would shake their head at that and really wonder why we would work with the Iranians at this level. The other thing that I'm really concerned about is that there is an evolving rift between the Sunnis and the Shias across the region. And what's going on in Yemen right now, as you see, with Iran meddling in there and supporting the Houthi rebels, that's really, building the divide between the Shias and the Sunnis. And if we're not careful, that is really going to grow into a major problem throughout the region. And we're going to find ourselves on the outside looking in, unable to influence that. And that could get really bad. Taking
into account the fact that Yemen is located right on the border of Saudi Arabia, Saudi, of course, the largest, one of the largest producers of oil. Let me get your take on the impact on oil. There was an analyst earlier who said these airstrikes on Yemen are adding $4 to $5 in premium on the price of oil, and that's why we're seeing this big rally in oil today.
Well, what I can probably comment more accurately on are, the airstrikes in general and kind of this top-down approach, whether it's with drones or airstrikes. And while we kind of sit on the sidelines, I think that is just, it's going to drive instability up. What strikes me about this whole thing, whether it's Yemen, Syria, Iraq, is that we're kind of on the sidelines allowing the ground campaign to take place, while we, launch airstrikes and drones. You have to do some of that. But at the end of the day, it's these unchecked areas beyond the reach of the governments that are really in turmoil. And we're really going to have to deal with those areas. If we continue to cede it to violent extremists and to the Iranians, I can suspect oil is going to go up, and you're going to see a lot of other regional instability issues come into play as well.
Yeah. All right, Colonel, thanks very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Maria.
Colonel Scott Mann, we are going to be bringing you the latest on the fatal German Wings flight next. Back in a moment. Leah Gabriel will be here.